Okay, ready to go. Now, Coop, you do your primary job. Clap.
What's that?
Clapping. You're the clap expert. That's it. Fantastic.
You happy with that?
That one's close to your best.
Thank you.
Yep.
Welcome to Backstage with Cooper and Matty Johns. Episode 2 today.
Episode 2, Coops.
Luke Brooks last week.
Thank you to Brooksy.
Thank you to Brooksy. Now we're on to a very special guest, friend of the podcast, friend of myself and of you, James Magnussen, the Missile.
The Missile. But I really like Missile.
He's a good man.
Very straight shooter.
Yeah, he's very good on the radio, isn't he?
He's really good. Got a good career in the media. I'll tell you what the other thing sticks out about Missile too. His wife, Rose. Oh, his partner,
yes.
Rose. She is MAD.
Yeah. Spell that out. If you can't spell, mad.
Yeah. She's MAD, but she's not BAD. She's a great person, but she's mad.
Yeah.
It's good.
Yeah, she is. They're a very mad couple together.
They are. Yeah, but Missile, he's very much in the news, hasn't he? He's been Coops, it's been right across the world as far as him competing in the enhanced games.
Enhanced games.
Most newspapers in the world, like all the American newspapers, European newspapers.
Yeah, everyone wants a piece of him.
First person to commit.
Yeah, and we've got him exclusive.
Well, I don't know if it's exclusive. Do you know what exclusive means?
Yeah.
Go on.
Like we get him to ourselves.
Yeah.
Just me and you and him in the room.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay. We'll take that as an exclusive.
Just before we get into the interview, we've just both come back from Vegas. How are you feeling?
How are you feeling?
I feel good. I was over there to capture content and to help promote the greatest game of all, rugby league. So I was flat out working.
Okay, who did you work with? Because honestly, I've rarely met... The only person that's got as many fingers and pies as you is Nathan Highmarsh. So just tell the listeners what you're doing over there. Who are you working for?
For KISS, for radio.
Cha-ching?
Yeah. I work there.
Yeah, cha-ching.
And then some stuff for Fox as well. Fox League.
Cha-ching. Anyone else?
No, that's it.
You sure about that? Yeah, okay.
Yeah, that's it, really.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I think there are other couple of things going on over there, but yeah.
Oh, no. You're talking about my pimp work while I've been over there.
Pays well.
It does. Yeah. Thanks, Trish, for that, helping me with that stuff.
Yeah, I tell you what, I was doing a bit of work over there, but a little bit of play as well. I'm a little bit scratchy, Coops. I'm getting
because you look scratchy on the cover on your show. I was watching your show. You look a bit scratchy on there.
Really?
Yeah, I could tell. I don't know if the people watching could tell.
I felt all right on the show. It was the fact that I had a few beers on the way home on the plane. Over there, I sort of behaved okay in Vegas. Certainly okay compared to the first time I went over there a few months ago. That was hardcore. It cemented me that when you get past 50, you should not go on benders. Well,
Trish and I were there this time. So I think having the family there probably subdued you, would you say?
Subdued you? Subdued you? Yes, without a doubt. We had the handbrake there. But, of course, Brian Fletcher, his wife, Britt, went over with Trish. Oh. They were in cahoots. They discussed. They had a discussion about how we looked on return for our first trip. They're horrified, and they said, and they got in cahoots and they went. Wow. They went together. They had a few days in LA, and then they met up with us in Vegas.
Double handbrake.
Yes, double handbrake. But we made sure. Me and Fletch were in Vegas a day before them, so that first night we had a decent. Then we pulled back. Because we're professionals.
Because the show comes first, as it always has.
Okay, I can hear him. He's arrived, ladies and gentlemen, the Missile, James Magnussen.
We're joined today by James Magnussen, the Missile, or otherwise known as the Human Missile. How are you, James?
I'm good, Cooper. Ticket man, cash cock. You go by many names now that you're over at Kiss FM?
I don't do the cash cock. I am
Okay.
Ticket Man. That's intern Pete's job. I don't want to take away from him because he has a bit of a feud with me at the moment.
Mate,
How you been?
high, cash cock is in your future.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, hopefully I take it off him. How you been, Miss Sol?
Look, Cooper, I've been quite busy over the past week. A lot of stuff in the headlines. I was talking to my dad the other day, and he said, "Mate, haven't you had enough of this stuff? Like, can't you just go quietly into the sunset and mind your own business?" So, look, Dad, I would like to, but we're here now. Of course, I'm talking of the enhanced games.
We're gonna touch on the enhanced games.
I'll just chime in there for a second. The spotlight pays better than the show. Sorry to interrupt you blokes, but you blokes are old colleagues, aren't you, so to speak?
We've done one radio show together on SEN.
What a radio
Award-winning.
Oh, it was very good. It was very. You've had a few hosts on that show. Where did I rank as a co-host?
Ooh, good question. Pretty highly, I would say, because at times there is a generational gap, which means some of my banter misses the mark.
You and Fletcher be good, though.
Yeah, Fletcher's good fun. When Fletch starts winding me up a bit and getting me going with some stories, I'm always looking around at the producers and, Jeremy, who's in charge of content, going, where are we going with this? I'm talking about strip clubs in Tijuana, and Fletcher's just egging me on. It gets pretty loose.
I remember because we did it at a golf, at like an actual golf course. There was two of my favourite memories was there was a strange man sort of lingering around with like
Shout out, he's probably listening because he's your dad's biggest fan.
Yeah, he had lamingtons that he was trying to feed to us.
Delicious.
And then he also was wearing these sneakers that Hockers, which
I said never trust a man in Hockers, and over he comes.
And Miss Sol was saying it on air. He just kept saying, "Yeah, I just can't trust someone with Hockers." And the guy was going over there, giving the thumbs up. But my favourite part on it was we were sitting there, and Miss Sol was going on about Pat Cummins. He was talking about Pat Cummins and the cricket, and I didn't know the vibe for the show at this stage. I knew it was pretty loose because it was Fletcher's drive show, and I thought it'd be a good joke. I had a joke in the Arsenal. I said, "Oh well, did you know Pat Cummins has got a new cider company on?" And Michelle goes, "Does he?" I go, yeah, he started a new cider. And he goes, "Oh." And I said, "Ask me what he called it." And he goes, "What's he called it?" And I said, "Cummins Cider." And then Michelle just went, "We'll be right back."
We seem to have a technical difficulty.
And my heart sank into my chest. I was like, no, like I've completely missed the mark. I'm going to get so much hate.
There's two parts of that though, Cooper. Number one, you leave the audience on a high. So half the audience would really enjoy that. And so you leave them on a high. So they're waiting for you to come back. But the other half was, I thought, they may need to dump this, so I need to get to it.
And another thing we had quite a nice Boxing Day together in Port Macquarie, didn't we? Because you're from Port Macquarie.
Yes, I am. Yeah.
What was your memories of those nights? Because we were up there with Harry Grant as well.
Oh, geez, there's a crew.
Yeah, well, I think I caught you on day 2.
Yeah.
They say day 2 is always better than day 1. I caught you on day 2. One thing that you probably learned about me that day is that I'm the sensible one in my relationship, which is very concerning to most who hear that.
Yeah. It almost caused a prickly situation for you and your family. With obviously, we got quite intoxicated at the Port Macquarie local there, and the missile had a family dinner on for Boxing Day that night. And we were all so drunk, and Missile's partner, Rose, was probably the drunkest woman.
But she's upstairs with Trish at the moment.
Yeah.
She was probably the drunkest woman in Port Macquarie that night. And they had to go back to the lunch, and apparently, you tell what happened there.
Well, so I used to, the joke between me and my mates when Rose first moved down and started living with me, I used to call her the handbrake. Because she used to slow me down on a big night and say, it's time to go. So we used to go, here comes the handbrake. And then something happened, and it's just switched roles to now it'll get to whatever time in the night or morning, and I'm like, please, I've had enough. Like, I'm tapping out. Anyway, this night we come back into family dinner, and my mum's one of 9, so there's a lot of family, and not all as close. Like Rose doesn't know them that well, and Rose has come in like a hurricane, and she's talking and she's not eating and stuff, and then I'm looking around. I go, where's Rose gone? And I go upstairs. We're in a 2-story house. I go upstairs, and she's out in the front balcony, which nobody uses. It's like this abandoned balcony. She's out in the front balcony with my 15-year-old cousin bailed up down the end of the balcony, going, "Now listen, if you want to make the A-League one day, this is what you got to do." Like telling him,
thinks he's Frank Farina.
telling him how to progress his soccer career, and I was just like, "What is happening?" Yeah, she was a cat amongst the pigeons that night. But yeah, she's good fun now, and she got on well with your other half as well. So
yes,
they met Missile, as you said, been the headlines a lot lately. The enhanced games, as they call it. Okay, whose idea was this? Where did it come from?
So the enhanced games I'd heard about 6 months prior to this. Aaron D'Souza, the organizer, came on radio when I was on breakfast. And the idea to me seemed a little, it seemed impossible at the time because he didn't quite have the backing. It didn't seem serious enough. And I thought, like most guys have spoken about in the pub, right? Like you'd love to see athletes just go hell for leather and see what's possible, what's humanly possible. But the point they were at, I thought, nah, this is not something that's realistic. 6 months down the track, the other week, I was listening to Joe Rogan, and sure enough, he starts talking about the Enhanced Olympics. And off the back of that, Peter Thiel, billionaire philanthropist, comes on, and he says, I'm going to back it financially. So now suddenly they've got the exposure, they've got the backing, and it sounds a little bit more realistic. So I was talking to one of my mates about it, and my mate that I was talking to, he's an ideas man, and he said, mate, I reckon you should do it. And I was like, I don't think it's realistic. He said, no. He said, I reckon you should do it. And I said, well, for $1 million, I'd do it. And then I spoke to my producer at SEN. I said, let's get Aaron D'Souza on the show on SEN. He said, okay. He reached out, and by this point, the enhanced games had kicked on to another level of popularity. So they weren't really doing international media. They're based in London. They weren't really doing much Australian media. So the boys at Hello Sport Podcast, friends of everyone here, reached out, and they just literally gave me a phone call and said, hey, Missile, we're on the potty, you're live. Have you heard of this Enhanced Games? I said, yep. They said, what do you think of it? I said, well, how about this? For $1 million, I'd go in the Enhanced Games and break the world record. That was it. Throwaway comment. And you know what I regret? I said on this bloody podcast, I'd juice to the gills and break the world record. Of course, that's the quote.
Yeah, of course.
Of course.
Yeah.
A little bit difficult to explain to your mum and dad.
How quickly did they get onto you after you said that on the podcast?
So I said that on the Wednesday. They released their podcast on the Thursday. So I kind of forgot about it in that 24 hours.
Short memory.
Yeah, I do. Trust me. Went to bed Thursday night, woke up Friday morning, and I try not to look at my phone when I wake up, and it's pinging, 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 ping. I was like, I better have a look at it. And I've got hundreds of emails, hundreds of messages, missed calls. I'm like, oh no, this usually means something bad in my life. I've experienced this before for different supplements. And I was like, I'm going to have to open a couple of these, see what it is. And sure enough, it's a statement from the Enhanced Game saying, we've put $1 million US into escrow, and it's sitting there waiting for the Missile to come on board and break this world record. And Rose was in the bathroom. I was like, Rose. She's like, what? And I was like, it's happening. This is happening. And from there, so it's been New York Times, Washington Post, BBC, Fox News, CNN. Every station in the world has been just smashing my phone all week. They're running stories individually. It's global. It's probably gone as big as any news story I've ever been a part of. And it all came off the back of just that throwaway comment almost. And then I'm seeing back then every article saying, Olympian says he'll juice to the gills and break the world record. I was like, that's not the messaging.
Juice to the gills. There it is again.
That's not the messaging I want. But as you guys may know, that technology's come so far, medicine's come so far. We're not in the 80s in Eastern Bloc countries anymore talking about getting stuff out of the boot of a car. And I think for the most part, it will be the medical advancements that we've made in the past 15, 20 years will be more about regeneration of the body, the joints, being full bill of health before I delve into maybe something a bit more performance enhancing. What's that going to look like? I'm not sure, but I wish I hadn't said juice to the gills, because I want to be very meticulous about it and do it medically, testing. Offshore, I'm going to have to go to America to do it because it's legal over there, not legal here. But I'm not going to lie, now that it's here, it's a big opportunity.
Yes, I was going to ask you the carrot for the athletes, but it's financial.
I spoke to an athlete inboxed me shortly after it, and again, when you say stuff like this, you don't necessarily think, what are the other athletes going to think? What are kids going to think? All the repercussions of it. An athlete messaged me and said, not long ago, I broke a world record in swimming, and I got $10,000. And they said, never did I think that swimmers would be racing for $1 million US. So he said, I hope this works out, because potentially this could be something in my future.
It was the big discussion for a long time, Missile. Right through from probably when Ben Johnson got done. Going forward, people said, first argument was, why don't they just let free-for-all go? And people shot that down pretty quick. And other people said, what if there was a games where people could take substances which were banned? Yeah. And everyone was like, wow, well, it's taken a while, but here we are. And I've heard some of the commentary and some of the comments around stuff. And there's blokes saying, there was one footballer saying, well, what about bush footballers and that? And you're going, okay. Probably that. All that sort of stuff. My probably main question is, say your partner Rose, what was her reaction?
Yeah, so I think it's pretty front and center for us is health, because I'm 32 years of age. I haven't had kids yet, and I'm at that age where, we're thinking about a family and that kind of stuff. So, and fertility, I think, can be an issue in that world. So that was the first thought is, can this be done safely? And we've spoken to the organisers, we've spoken to their doctors, the people on their side about, can this actually be done safely, or is this, all just smoke and mirrors? And they remain adamant that it can be done safely. I may have to do something before it gets too serious of freezing some sperm but the thing is, and I've tried to explain to people close to me is, there's opportunities that present themselves in life that can be life-changing, not only for you, but for your family. And I'm at that age now where I'm talking about, having a family at some point in the not too distant future. This could set them up for, the long term. And it's not just $1 million US. There's a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes. There's a lot of things in play. And I think based off the reaction that this got worldwide, it's going to garner a lot of interest between now and when it actually happens.
Well, if you do need a sperm donor, Michelle, I'm happy to lend you some good...
Oh, they're going to say me. And say, mate, I'll tell you, little secret, mate. Old mate's shooting blanks these days.
So I don't think you don't want his sperm. Look what it turned me into anyway.
I was going to say is I was actually shooting blanks after Jack was born. But you were this miracle. It's amazing. I had a vasectomy and some of you...
But with the when you chatted to their doctors, what's the safest way to use performance-enhancing drug? Is it like a micro-dosing sort of thing, or is it...
Well, I think the first point of call for me will be getting my body right. So it'll be things like stem cells, potentially some sort of peptides or something to get my body back to basically what it was as an athlete in my 20s. Yeah. Take away any niggles, any lingering, aches and pains that all athletes have post-career. Get my body back to a full bill of health. And then the main thing will be constant tests on, my bloods, my hormone levels, my organs. How's my liver handling it? How's my kidneys handling it? Constant monitoring of what is my body able to handle and remain at a safe level. And if at any point those metrics are out, then we're done. We stop there. Yeah, because it's a lot of money. It's a huge opportunity, but nothing is worth more than your health.
Okay, missile, and it's funny. There's certain sports that are really linked, even though they're obtusely different. And one of the ones I look at is boxers and swim sprinters, 50 metres, 100 metres.
Yep.
They're that same animal. And, boxers talk up and say, I'm going to do that. I'm going to shock the world. Will you break the 50-metre record?
I had this conversation with my dad, and he goes, what if you don't break the world record? I said, Dad, honestly, I would not be where I am today if at any given point during my younger life and career, I doubted myself whether I could do something. I talk to kids all the time when I do, swim clinics and the like. My message is always the same. I never won a race in my life that I didn't think that I was going to win going into it. Part of that was convincing yourself in the lead up. Yeah, I'm the best. I'm the fastest man in the world, which is a hard thing to get your head around, right?
Mm-hmm.
Little kid from Paul Macquarie, and you're going, no, I am the fastest man in history. I am. This is where I belong. And the moment that I heard the $1 million accepted, I went straight back into, I can do that.
There.
I went for a swim this week.
Back in the ring.
Back in the ring. Went for a swim with the thought in the back of my mind again of, I want to be the fastest man in history. Geez, it felt good to do that again.
Well, okay, I'll ask you that, missile. So to do, all the other stuff, the enhancement, to go through all those medical tests, and that's one thing. But to put your head back in the bucket again and train.
Yeah.
That's a big commitment.
It is. It is. I don't know if I speak for all athletes, but everyone in this room will be able to give me feedback. I still regularly have dreams where I'm in front of a big crowd, or I'm either mid-race or just finished a race, just in a big moment again. And every time I wake up, I've got this big smile on my face and I get the jitters, and then you go, back to normal life. And I don't know if that's something still burning inside me that expires in life.
Cooper, do you have those dreams? A William Kickout running over the top of you? And you wake up with a big smile and say, thank God, it's only about 9 here.
No, actually, I don't have any of those dreams anymore. I definitely don't have dreams about playing in front of a big crowd and owning a big moment, because I've never done it. I've never done it.
The two dreams, I don't know if people that haven't had similar pursuits have them, but two dreams I have. One is, I haven't done my homework and I've got something due at school, and I wake up and I'm sort of panicking, like, I haven't done my homework. And then the other one is I wake up and I think I'm about to race or mid-race or preparing for a big race. And one, I feel relieved when I wake up, and the other one, I feel disappointed, like,
Yeah, I get the mad. I still will wake up sometimes thinking I'm still playing footy and I'm late for training. And it's the worst anxiety in the world. Like
I have the one where I can't find my boots because I was really fastidious.
Yeah.
And I'm searching around, or I can't find my shorts.
Yeah.
And
I get broken goggles.
Sorry, that's not a dream. I wake up in the middle of the night and say,
Hey, when you talk about you went back in the pool, how far off the fastest time you've ever swam? How far off that are you now?
Well, I didn't time myself because I didn't have a coach there or anything like that. But I felt good physically because I've had a bit of time out of the pool. So you do those niggles and things from the repetitive nature of swimming. Swimming is a super repetitive sport. Like if you counted shoulder rotations in my life, it'd be a silly number. So the body felt good. I felt fast. I swam with another guy who is swimming currently, and it was good to compare myself to him.
Yeah.
Better?
I don't want to throw me under the bus.
The smile tells a different story.
But short distances, Cooper. So like when I raced, I was a 100-meter swimmer. I haven't trained for 50 meters in my life because 100 was a blue ribbon event. Everyone wants to be a 100 freestyle, and from there you find if you're not good at that, you do something else. That was always my event, and the coaches were constantly saying to me, back off the weights. We don't want you to get too big for the 100. We don't want too much power. You need to have an aerobic base. So I would be swimming 80 kilometers a week in pre-season to build up the aerobic base to swim for a minute. All of that, when you go from 47 seconds for the 100 back to 20 seconds for the 50, it's all gone out the window. No aerobic, pure power, size not an issue because there's less of a buoyancy because you're not going to fatigue as much. So now it's just an expression of how powerful can you get outside of the pool and how can you express that in the water with perfect technique.
What is the world record right now for 50?
20.91.
Do you know what the fastest time you've ever clocked?
21.5. So 0.58 off.
Yeah.
0.59 off. And the other kicker with this enhanced games, because it's enhanced, I said to the organisers, we have to compare apples with apples.
Mm-hmm.
So the world record was broken in the big shiny super suits back in 2009, and it's taken 15 years. Still, a lot of those freestyle records still stand today because the suits were just amazing.
Yeah, slipstreaming.
So I said, if I'm going to break this world record and be the fastest man in history, I want the same technology that they had in 2009. So that super suit, I've never raced in before, but I know what it did for the athletes at that time. And I've raced those same athletes without the suit, and I was faster than them without the suit. So I've got that.
Got me considering.
Up my sleeve as well, yeah.
Okay, Maggie, here's a question. This is I imagine the Olympic Committee would be really nervous about this, and they will come out and say, "Oh, this is outrageous," and everything. All that sort of stuff. They probably already have, right?
Yep.
Okay, let's look at. There's 5 disciplines they're doing with the enhanced games. It's let me have a check. Yeah, swimming, track and field, weightlifting, gymnastics, and combat sports. Let's say, for instance, right, let's go track and field, the premier event of the Olympics, the 100-metre sprint, and someone comes out and runs 9.5. Someone turns up the Paris Olympics and runs 9.85. There's a risk going forward that people will look at the Olympics and go, ho-hum.
Yeah. And that was the messaging I tried to get across when I first announced this was, by no means is my participation in it trying to take away from the Olympics. What can this games become? The world's its oyster. The same as what's happened with Live Golf and the PGA. I'm hoping in some instances, maybe, all boats rise with the tide, and that the Olympics starts going, well, we need to pay our athletes. Because at the moment,
right, gotcha.
Olympic athletes aren't paid to go to the Olympics.
Gold medals pay, silver and bronze not so much.
Yeah, and even records as well. So
why is that?
It's almost seen as a privilege, right, to represent your country at the Olympic Games. For example, we don't get a salary from the Olympic Committee to fly to Paris and spend 5 weeks there training, preparing, and then competing. There is no Olympic salary. Whereas the enhanced games came out straight away and said, we'll give all our athletes a salary, we'll pay for their training and their facilities and stuff, and we think that needs to be acknowledged as professional athletes. The other thing, Cooper, is that the Olympic Games were always an amateur games, which part of that was, and there was times when basketballers or football players, soccer players and stuff couldn't play in the Olympics because it was an amateur games. So they weren't allowed to be professional athletes. We're so far past the world of amateur sport. It's big money.
92 it all changed. Seoul Olympics were the last amateur one. 92 in Barcelona was a huge game. Professional athletes could compete, hence the dream team with the NBA. Made a big difference. Okay, a question for you, Missile. And if you've got a lawyer here, they'll say you're leading the witness. Do you think you can break, I'm not going to say your sport. Let's have a discussion here. Do you think a person this day and age can break the 100-metre track and field record in the sprint without enhancement?
Well, they're not close right now. They're not close. But you just need that generational talent again. The problem at the moment, I think, with that 100-metre time is the generational talents right now coming from the biggest population base playing in the NFL, the NBA, the MLB, the NHL. Such big money in those events that if you're a young kid in America and you're running sub 11 seconds in high school and you have the choice to go to the NFL for millions of dollars or to the Olympics, which I just told you doesn't have a salary, maybe you're trying to change the circumstances for your family or for yourself.
Well, do you think about prestige? You can be playing a wide receiver in the Kansas City Chiefs, win a Super Bowl, and be getting something like $157 million. Or you can, exactly, or Trish Johns, and You can dedicate 4 years of your life to maybe winning an Olympic medal,
provided you feel perfect on the day.
Yeah.
So much comes, like, the Olympics is so, and that's why I still put the Olympics as the pinnacle of sport. It's definitely in my arena. The World Cup in soccer now is probably superseded as the most watched, the most anticipated event. But it's such a pinnacle of sport that you have to feel perfect on that day, on that night, against every other person in the world to be the fastest in the planet.
How do you do that, Missile? Because there's certain things in preparation. When you go out and play football, sometimes the ball's just not hitting your hands like normally. If you're a cricketer, sometimes you go out there and they look like watermelons. Other times they look like peas. What got you in the sweet spot?
I remember a couple of times on big events, and this will rattle you, is I woke up on the morning of like a World Championship final or Olympic final and just I feel like shit today. A bit of a headache, just feel like shit. And you go, ooh, it's probably the most important day of my life. And you have to turn it around mentally. So most of it is mental resilience and toughness and getting yourself back in that headspace. But that's the most difficult thing about swimming is you form ebbs and flows, the same as during an NRL season. You have good patches, you have bad patches. The players we always remember are the ones that have those good patches leading into the finals. Your Kalen Pongers, your Jared Haynes, your Nathan Clearys. They seem to hit a good patch of form at the right time of the year. We don't remember the guys who in round 0 to 10 were absolutely braining it. Ooh. Like last year, Latrell Mitchell, round 0 to 10, you're going, this is South.
Yeah.
Then all of a sudden, Kalen Ponga hits his blue patch between rounds 15 to 24, and all I remember last year is Kalen Ponga. Yeah.
Given the first half of the year, people were saying, his career's hanging by a thread with all the concussions, and suddenly he catches fire.
Even the bloke that won like the best player in the preseason games last year, and then no one remembers that.
Unbelievable.
Did you get a share in the prize money?
I've got a medal in my room.
A medal?
I can go and get it for you if you want, but I don't want to take away from the podcast. Hey, your experiences in past Olympics, do you think there were people juicing at those Olympic Games? Do you know for a fact?
100%. Yep. Some of those people's names got released in Icarus in the documentary. At the end, they released the list of names. People in that list of names I raced.
And beat?
People in that list of names, we got 4th in the relay in London, and a team from another country medalled above us, and athletes from that country were named in that Icarus documentary.
What do they do with that? Do they strip the medals? Depends
on when those athletes were caught, when they tested their B samples, all that sort of stuff. We didn't get medals for that. No, it's a very grey area, because let's say in 2014 I tested positive for something. Do they then go and say we presume that he was cheating in London, so we'll take his medal off him and give it to the third place? Well, there's no real way of knowing. Everyone suspects that if you got caught then, you're probably doing it at your peak, but it's very hard to put it on a timeline.
What about the current? Would that have changed? Like, has the testing ramped up since those times, or is the testing still the same? Like,
the testing has always been insane. So during the London Olympics, I was there for 3 weeks, and I had to do what was called a blood passport. So every morning, the doctor would take me to the medical centre, and I'd give blood. And they tested my blood and urine every single day I was there, 21 days straight, to make sure there was no abnormalities on any given day. I'm talking like 100 freestyle night. The race happens. I'm up till midnight sort of digesting that. 7 a.m. knock on the door from the doctor. We got to go and give you a blood sample. Yeah. That's how...
Yeah, they say good news and bad news. Good news is you've negative for performance enhancing. The bad news, you've got syphilis.
What stops people juicing outside of that period then? Like, say, 4 years...
That's the hard part.
Is there no testing there because they don't know who's going to compete in the next Olympic Games type of thing?
Correct. The hard part is not all countries test their athletes the same. So Australia, most athletes that you'll see test positive or get banned will be done by ASADA, which is the Australian Sports Anti-Doping Authority. We put taxpayer money to test our own athletes, catch them, and then ban them, and then put them in front of a press conference saying this person's a cheat, which when you think about it, is an unusual process, right? Whereas other countries, and again, on documentaries, it's been shown that they have state-run doping programs to find the best ways to avoid being caught. Not only are they not testing their own athletes, they're not putting funding into testing their own athletes, they're putting funding into avoiding testing and beating testing.
Well, there's been very much an age-old philosophy with, like nationalism. Through sport, you can build that. It's very important for some countries. I mean, we're talking about East Germany before. How important it was for East Germany to almost, say that we have the super athletes, and just costing people their lives, just ruthlessly doing. Let's talk about your Olympic experiences. And look, and everyone knows your story, Miss Salt. I don't want to talk about golds versus silvers. Let's talk about stuff that people don't know about.
Yeah.
First question. The Olympic Village. The myth and the truth. They say that it's basically Root Fest. Is that the case? And where is we're going to learn to throw the shot put.
I think there is aspects of that are true. When you put that many young athletic people in one village, things happen. The funniest one I saw in a village was actually at a Commonwealth Games. So the Commonwealth Games in Delhi had a nightclub in the village.
Oh, there we go.
So I was 18 when I went to Delhi. This was my first Australian team. It was a ranked place, Delhi, shocker. And I come in the village. It's night one, and the opening ceremony is the following night. So competition hasn't started. And I walk past the nightclub, and the nightclub is pumping, and it's packed with all these people from the African nations. Off their heads. One hand, they've got like junk food, like Macca's or whatever fast food was in the village. The other hand, they're sculling drinks because there's free drinks in this nightclub, and just going for it.
Because it wasn't a rugby league Mad Monday.
Yeah, they've never seen it before. They haven't. These countries don't have access to. No such thing as a nightclub or an athlete's village in some parts of Africa. So forget about the competition aspect. That's a secondary thing. So there's people in an Olympic village that from day one are partying and rooting around. Yeah, but that's the hard thing to disassociate. Where you get into a village, and it's like Charlie and the Chocolate Factory for an adult, right? You walk in and there's athletes of all shapes and sizes. There's so many crazy things in there, like, massive food halls, McDonald's. There's all these vending machines everywhere. And the biggest sponsors are like Cadbury, Coca-Cola. So there's vending machines with all the sweets and lollies and Gatorades and Cokes and everything you can imagine.
Isn't that bizarre?
Everything free.
So it's all free, everything.
Everything in the village is free. Like, there's a Beats by Dre stall in there. And you go in and say, I want this color Beats. They just give you free Beats by Dre. Like, everything in there was free.
Is it true the condoms as well?
Yeah, they're handing out
Free
condoms
Jimmies.
like they're going out.
Yeah, I've heard that as well.
Yeah. They reckon it's an astronomical number of condoms that they go through during the games. But you walk in there, and there's so many distractions, and it's such a crazy place, and potentially such a fun place. But you're like, right, I've got a mission here. I'm trying to compete and be serious, and and for most other big competitions you go to, you'll stay in a 5-star hotel, you'll have a nice bed, you'll be well rested, team bus, which is quiet and nice. Then you get to an Olympic village, and it's just bedlam. It's noisy, it's loud, it's smelly. There's athletes running, there's boxers shadow boxing in the street. It's just bedlam.
What a test of your mental toughness.
Yeah. And then you get on the bus, all of a sudden you sit down, and sitting across the row from you is your biggest competitor that night. And so you're sort of, trying to ignore this person, and then you get back to your room, and you're staying in this shitty little single bed with another person sleeping in the room next to you, snoring or something. It's just madness, complete madness. And you have to try and wade through all of those distractions to get your best performance on the most important day of your life.
Imagine how hard that would be your first Olympics, putting it together. Talk about the food hall, the mess hall.
Yeah.
I was talking to an Olympian, I don't know if it was Seoul or LA, and they said everyone's sitting there, and it's the politics of basically the Olympic Village, and all of a sudden the great 400-metre hurdler Edward Moses walked in, and the whole place just went, it's Edward Moses. And he walked in as he ran, so ultra smooth. He walked in. Everyone's going, it's Edward Moses. This is incredible. And he went and got some soup, sat down. Every eyeball in the place is watching him. And he got the soup and spilt the soup on himself. Actually, he's human.
Yeah. I came through in this really crazy era of athletes. So we had those same sort of moments in a food hall, where a food hall, just for reference, is probably the best part. I'd say 1.5 football fields. It's huge. Every cuisine from every country in the world in that. Bain Marie, all you can eat, plus sweets, plus everything, plus a Macca's with 20 counters, everything free.
Sizzler and steroids.
It's insane.
And
in that village, we had Michael Phelps, Usain Bolt, Novak Djokovic, Roger Federer, Rafael Nadal, LeBron James, Kevin Durant, Kobe Bryant, Serena Williams. Wow. These are people you're seeing every single day.
Did you get to chat with any of them?
Chatted to Rafael Nadal, chatted to Serena Williams. We met most of the Dream Team. We were doing a staging camp in Manchester, and they were all staying at our hotel. We had Kobe Bryant coming down to training and watching us swim and stuff. It was pretty cool. So that was very surreal, in that you talk about generational athletes. We ended up with about 8 all at that games. Now you're looking at this games in Paris, and you go, who are those people now?
Who are the mega?
Yeah.
Who are the mega stars?
And I mean, if Novak doesn't go,
because you're right, the amateur sport these days, you think about the tennis circuit and some of these other sports. It is so intense. There's so much that they have to do in their minds to go, do I have to go to the Olympics? To win a medal.
Yeah,
it's a pretty big sacrifice. Pretty amazing that those like a Serena Williams went there,
and to put themselves in that environment. So I remember in Rio, I was walking to the food hall, and in the village there are some facilities, but Rio they went a little bit more party atmosphere. So it was each big building had a pool, which of course once we're finished competing. Yeah. The pool
turned into basically a laxer.
Yeah. So it had a pool, but it also had some social tennis courts in the middle. And I was walking late one afternoon to the food hall, and Novak's hitting on this court with his hitting partner, and just stood there and watched from me to you away. Watched Novak just hitting a couple of 100 balls, full speed, just on the way to the food hall. And he's just in the middle of the village, living like a normal bloke.
Do those big stars have security or anything with them?
You guys keep going.
No.
I'm just going to get a loo for a second. Just keep going. It's fine.
Okay.
You blokes. That's fine. Just keep going.
What a weird thing to do. What about the loosest nation?
Australia has a big reputation in an Olympic village for...
Back in two.
They have a big reputation for the second week, for the party section of the Olympic Games. So I would say they're the ones with the reputation.
Yeah, okay. Sorry, it's very distracting, Matthew just walking straight out of the thing. All right, what about the Australian swimming team? What's the politics of your Aussies? Because who, especially the relay, who did you swim in the relay with?
So at our peak, it was Eamon Sullivan. When we won the world champs, it was Eamon Sullivan, Matthew Targett, and Matthew Aboud. So those three were probably late 20s, and I was 19.
Yeah.
But I was the fastest one in the team. So that's weird politics, right? When you got...
Is the fastest one usually the anchor?
Well, in some ways, it's up to the fastest swimmer where they want to swim.
Okay.
So as a younger kid, I used to swim as the anchor and loved it. But then when I reached my peak, I felt it was my responsibility as the fastest swimmer in the team to lead off, to try and give my team a lead and get clean water. And the anchor role gets the accolades in the end, right? Like Ian Thorpe in Sydney Olympics gets all the accolades for that Olympics, but Michael Klim broke the world record in the lead-off. And if Australia isn't leading throughout that race, then the other three swimmers probably don't swim out of their skin and end up winning that gold medal. So when I was at my peak, I took the responsibility personally of leading off the relay team to try and put us in the lead from the start. So we had clear water for the rest of the swimmers.
Sorry for the unprofessional. How'd you go with your piss, Matthew?
Got to get that prostate checked.
Is there a memory? Sorry, is there a memory of the Olympics that you haven't already said that stands out above the most, that you cherish?
That I cherish? Oh, look, the second week in London was something else. It really was. Namely, shout out AOC if they're listening, but I had a mate playing football in Oldham at the time.
Great town.
Don't know what the team are called in Oldham.
Oldham Athletic.
Yeah, he spent 2 years there living and working and playing in Oldham, and it just lined up with the Olympics. So I said, mate, come down to London. And he was my best mate from school, but he missed this little quick meteoric rise from, say, when we finished school to now I'm at the London Olympics. And he comes down to London. And I said, mate, where do you want to go tonight? He said, I don't know, let's just go out, see where people are going. And me and him and a couple of the other swimmers went to this nightclub. And there's all photographers, waiting outside the nightclub clicking photos. And he goes, what are they there for? And I said, they were taking photos of us. And he goes, what? And I go, yeah. And we go inside and they take us to a booth. And they bring out all these big bottles and, sparkling bottles and champagne and stuff. And we're going nuts. And he's sitting there really quietly just in the corner. I'm like, mate, what are you doing? He goes, am I allowed to have any of these drinks? Okay, mate. I was like, this is the world we're living in now. Let's
Dude,
go.
you're with the missile. Rip in.
But I ended up, I met a drunk Canadian guy in the train station that night. I said, you look a bit like my mate. I said, can I just borrow your accreditation? He said, yeah, no worries. I got my mate, and I actually snuck him into the Olympic Village. He spent a night in the Olympic Village.
That is...
He went through the food hall, we went trekking through the village, to different countries and stuff, did the full experience. Kind of forgot about the Canadian guy. I don't know whatever happened to him because it was super hard if you didn't have accreditation to get anywhere. So I hope he's all right. But what I didn't realise the next morning,
I'm sorry,
we must have been going.
He got eaten by a bear in Canada.
We went nuts that night. We're having a good time. Then he wakes up in the morning and he's lost the Canadian guy's accreditation.
Oh no!
And what he didn't realise is you need that same accreditation to get back out. So he wakes up. He's like, mate, I gotta go. I was like, yeah. So goes to leave and they detain him. And this was 2012. Terrorist threat was huge. They detain him. They're strip searching him. How did you get in the village? No, it's definitely not possible without accreditation. We're going to ring the Australian consulate and just find out. And he's going, no, don't ring. Don't ring the consulate. I don't know how he got out. Yeah. He ended up getting out.
Ring Oldham Athletic.
Yeah.
Oldham Athletic. This is the London tourist squad. Yeah, mate. What's going on?
But he always jokes. He said he should get an Olympic tattoo as well because he was part of it.
Miss also, okay, off the Olympics. Well, firstly, just quickly, what was more fun, London or Rio?
London was more fun. An English-speaking country, a country that probably could afford to do the games justice. Rio just felt like they weren't quite ready.
Yes, okay, because they were doubling up. They had Olympics and the
World Cup,
Football World Cup. Of course, people rioting in the streets, corruption rife. Yeah. Okay, righto. Off the Olympics, I reckon anyone who grew up in the 80s and 90s in Australia that watched movies like Animal House and all those college films would love to go to have an American college lifestyle. You went to college in America. How much fun?
Yeah, well, I did a couple of trips. So we did Boulder in Colorado, which is CU, which are big in the football right now. The funnest one was probably Alabama. We went down to Auburn University, which is a huge football school. And surprisingly, and I'm thinking that's probably where I'm going to have to go to do this next project because it's got all the facilities. You can't believe the facilities until you see them. The pools, the gyms, the testing, the labs. It's out of control. But yeah, a lot of fun. Very distracting for an Australian athlete. I had a few opportunities to basically move there and live for extended periods if I wanted to at certain times. But it was... I think with my personality, it was potentially too risky.
Yeah, right.
That I get led astray.
Is the American stereotype that we see in films, college lifestyle, is that?
Oh, there's certainly an aspect of it, particularly the frat houses and stuff. Those guys are those guys. Yeah.
Did you have a lot of big parties there?
But, we dabbled. We were always so at our peak. We had a really fun squad. We had about 10 blokes in a swim team. We're all between say 18 and 22. Probably average height of 6'4". So if we all walked into a party together, we stood out like dog's balls, and we were all swimming super fast. We were all single, and we all enjoyed a good time. And it kind of just happened, and this was probably off the back of the golden era of swimming, where it was almost like if you were swimming fast enough, then we'll take care of the other stuff.
Okay. Yeah.
So when we were going away on trips and stuff, we were often getting in trouble, but everything was being buried really well, or, not buried, but nothing was ever coming out. And that was just at the very start of social media, the very start. And I remember, I think I got Instagram like a week before the London Olympics. So that's the sort of time frame. So before that, no Instagram. Facebook is more about posting comments about what you've done that day, like really lame shit. And so the photos weren't a big part of social media. It was MSN, it was MySpace, it was Facebook, and it was all words, not photos. So no one was going around at parties taking photos of people. And if you went out, people would come up to you and ask you to sign stuff. Now, if you go out, all people want is friggin' selfies, which is so annoying. But it used to be when you go out, everyone wants you to sign something. And so you could kind of get away with anything.
Missile, finally, before we move on to some insights, I want to ask you something. Superstitions I used to carry around basically like one bag of luggage, and ended up I was covered in these superstitions. And they actually become more of a distraction than anything else. They're a very strange thing.
Yeah.
I believe that you swam on the relay with a guy who had a rather strange superstition. I'll lead the witness by saying this. It rings a bell. When you see the movie There's Something About Mary, and Woogie says to Ben Stiller's character, you're not going out with a loaded gun. I believe this guy would not swim with a loaded gun.
So this guy made a final at an Olympic Games one year, and was doing his warm-up for this final at the Olympic Games, and he just said to the coach, I'm too nervous. I can't do it, basically. The aura of the event got the better of him. I mean, it does, but right before you swim an Olympic race, it's you hear the crowd above you, you understand what's about to happen. It's a very overwhelming experience. And he just said, I can't do it. The coach said, go away, forget about this warm-up, hop out of the water, go away, get changed, put your suit on, just calm down, come back, and then we'll reassess. Yep, no worries. So he goes away, he dries off, he goes to the bathroom. He gets to the bathroom and he just thinks, what can I do to ease the tension here? And somehow, amidst this crazy scenario, he decides to relieve himself.
Rub the thumb over it.
Yes.
Masturbate? Is that what you guys are talking about?
Thanks,
Yes.
Scoop.
Oh,
They didn't want to
sorry.
spell it straight out.
Right before the Olympic final. Anyway, it calms him down somewhat. He gets his suit on. He goes back to his coach. They talk through it. He goes out that night and he wins a bronze medal in the Olympic final against all odds. Now, this guy then has this superstition that every time he races, he needs to do the same thing that won him that bronze medal at that Olympic Games.
Oh, shake hands with the unemployed,
so I'm
tear the
talking-
ears off it.
We're in Delhi, and these toilets are rank. They stink. There's no. He used to be able to really sniff out a disabled toilet, like a nice quiet spot
So to
where he could
speak.
get away.
Yeah.
But in Delhi, none of that. The stalls have got these big gaps, top and bottom,
Oh, no.
and they're disgusting. I don't think the plumbing really worked. And we're about to go out for the relay. So I'm like, where is this guy? He's doing his thing. And towards the end of his career, you know what? I reckon it got the better of him because he became so fixated on it. And the more the bigger the event and the more the pressure, as you can imagine, the harder it would be to perform before the race under those conditions.
How is he doing it? Just so I can visualize.
Are we talking People magazine, Picture, Skin magazine, or we're talking like analog,
so
like phones?
Back to when he would have been swimming originally, there would have been no mobile data back in those days.
Oh, God.
So he's going off memory alone.
The old memory.
Jeez, it's the best way to do it.
By the end of their career, I reckon. By the end of his career, I reckon phones would have been possible.
What he could have been.
But yeah,
could have won gold. Could have broke the world record.
But I think that's one of the greatest feats of human perseverance that he was able. You can just imagine, like he would have been holed up in there. You would hear the crowd chanting, and like the warm up area would shudder when the crowd would sort of chant for a race. And he's just in there getting to business.
On blocks number 3, Michael Klim. Of course, I'm not saying it's Klim.
Wouldn't you love to be the bloke next to him doing a nervous shit before you go, and you go, what the hell is that?
You got to be careful putting the old Speedos back on, get up, and you got basic international audience and you're waving around. And going, what is that Denny Stain?
Before we go into insights, one more thing. You've been ripping into your media work. You've been loving doing the radio stuff that you've been doing. What do you want to get out of that? Where do you see yourself taking that?
Mate, it's a good question. I think throughout my whole career, the one thing that has always served me well, but has always got me into a lot of trouble, is that I'm a pretty straight shooter. I kind of call things how I see them, and not many people wonder, either what I'm thinking or where they stand in my life. And I think that's served me well in my job now in the media. I really enjoy it. It's one of the few things that gives me, when they say you're live on air, it gives you that spark again of performance, of
rush,
of pressure, of a bit of nervous energy, and I love it. I do love it, and where that takes me, I'm not sure. I feel like I'm cutting my teeth a bit in the media world still a bit at the moment. You're
doing awesome. Me and Fletch talk about it. I go, Fletch goes, you have been listening to the missile? I went, yeah. He goes, fucking how loose is it? I said, yes, I know. I love it.
Yeah. And that's where I'm still trying to find, it's hard as a younger guy to understand where you fit in that picture. My earliest passion was always rugby league. And I feel so comfortable around other rugby league players and in the rugby league world. That's kind of the world I grew up in, a bit more so than the more polished world of swimming. So sometimes when I tell stories or I speak openly or honestly, people go, is that the swimmer? Is that the guy who's a swimmer? Because when I was a swimmer, you had to be, for whatever reason, they seem to be held to a different standard or
professionalism.
Yeah, and it's always, what about the kids? It's the first thing that happened when this enhanced games thing, everyone's saying, what about the kids?
Kids
like,
be fine.
Fuck, I'm 32 years old now. Like, am I just a role model for kids for my whole life? Like, at some point, can I just live normally? I don't know.
Let loose, let the training wheels off.
But people often say, they're like, fuck it, Missile is, isn't that the guy that was the swimmer? But I grew up in, my dad played rugby league, his brothers played rugby league. I feel very comfortable in that world. All my best mates played rugby league, so I feel very comfortable in that world. But I'm in this weird position, right, where I'm in the media, and I'm not an ex-player, so I can't necessarily give expert analysis from having been there and done it. I'm sure I watch as many games as everybody else and have my own, I played my whole life, so I do have opinions on things. But I think finding my place in that world of rugby league where I feel so comfortable.
With Missile, okay, for you, it might not be about everything tactically, but you've competed at the top level and oils are oils. You know what I mean? The same mentality. How you prepare, handling mental toughness, all those things cross over.
Yeah, you got a good insight. Menu of questions here for our listeners to understand what makes the Missile tick. First thing, if you could be any athlete of all time, who would you pick?
Of all time, I'll probably go, you know what? I'll go combat sports because I think the pressure and expectation on a fighter when he walks out to the ring or the cage on his own is another level to anything you can experience in any sport. Because not only are you going out there to compete, but you're going out there to try and kill or be killed. So I'm going to go Mike Tyson at his peak.
Great peak. And that's funny. Like doing that link, I just thought like swimming and boxing. When you stand on the blocks, or when you climb through the ropes, if you have a bad day and you're a little bit off, then it's you. In rugby league, you're one part of 13. You can go out there and be off. Yeah. And you go, I can get away with this. I'll just feed the ball early. I'll just make my tackles. That's fine.
Yeah.
With you guys, it's completely different.
Yeah. I've remembered a couple of times in my career where you're about to go out for a huge race, and the 100 freestyle is this one where everyone sort of all the support staff empty out of the warm-up area to go and watch it in the stands. They all want to get a good position for it, so it becomes very quiet. There's barely anyone around, but you could cut the tension with a knife. It's just, this is the race. It's coming up now. And I remember once, my coach or something talking to me about, you got to go out, you got to do this, you got to put aside all the distractions. You're just sitting there thinking, well, it's good enough for you to say, but I'm about to,
yes.
I'm about to walk out into a shitstorm here. Like, I'm kind of listening to you, but I'm also processing this myself, because this is, you can't exactly hold my hand while we walk out there.
It's like when Mickey said to Rocky when Ivan Drago's walking out, he said, don't be scared. And he goes, would you be? And he goes, yeah.
Would you ever fight while you're juiced up to the gills? Because it's a perfect chance right now to make another headline if you want to call someone out.
It's not something I've thought about.
Can you box?
I haven't spent a lot of time doing it.
Okay.
If it was another, I think it would only really be relevant if it was another big name swimmer.
Yeah, right.
I don't think anyone wants to see me fight a retired football player, for example, because what's the relevance of it, right? But if we got another big name swimmer, even an international
or runner, swimming versus running.
Yeah.
Usain Bolt, Michael Phelps, maybe they're on
Floyd Mayweather versus the missile. Money versus missile.
What's your favourite movie of all time, Missile?
Superbad.
Oh, great pick.
Lovin' McLovin.
Yeah.
That is, every time I watch Bill Hader, that it is such a great
Seth Rogen, such a great cast. Have you got a favourite scene?
Oh, probably the scene where he comes back with his ID.
Yeah.
Like, Muhammad? Why did you just Muhammad?
It's the most common...
It's the most common name in the world. Gosh, read a book.
You're an organ donor from Hawaii?
That was my favourite movie growing up.
Those cops are bad guys, aren't they?
Yeah.
Just letting some know. Those cops. Cops are good guys. Cops are tops. Just those guys in the movie.
Great save. What about your favourite song of all time?
Oh, favourite song. Wow. I used to listen to more sort of like rap or hip hop before I swam, because it would have that even keel of pumping you up a bit, but also not too much. Because if you listen to dance music or something upbeat, it's a little bit fever pitch, and then your heart rate gets going. So I was always a 50 Cent guy. My favourite Super Bowl year was when they brought out 50 Cent, Dr. Dre,
so
Eminem,
fine.
Snoop Dogg.
Yeah.
Like
2021. Although 50 cents more like $5.50.
Yeah, he's got a bit bigger. Yeah. So I have to go into club by 50 Cent.
Okay.
Who doesn't love a cheeseburger?
Inflation. You've done a lot of travelling in your time. Can you give us your best and worst accent?
My best and worst accent?
I'm sorry, not you impersonating.
Your favourite.
Your favourite accent, and then your most hated accent.
Is it by a girl or a guy?
Either or.
Is it an accent that I...
The one that you hear and go, God, I love that accent.
Yeah. Both.
Yeah, okay. Probably like a southern British accent I really like.
Okay.
From the nice posh areas.
Oh, right.
Oh.
The worst accent's South African.
Missile. Every interview we've done, what's the worst?
Everyone said it.
The poor old Sappers. It's just like South Africa. There'd be a guy listening to this going, Jesus bloody Christ. Throw us a bone, will you? I sounded like an American doing an Australian accent.
Yeah,
there's so many of them in swimming as well. They're shockers.
Yeah. Okay. This might be the same answer as the one before, but the Missile's having 3 friends over at his house, and you get to pick one artist to perform in the garage for you and 3 mates.
Oh, not 50 Cent for that sort of gig, I don't think.
Who would it be?
You know what? I think you got to go a little bit more rocky. I'll probably go Blink 182.
Great pick. I love Blink 182. Dad?
I've never really been into them since I sold my skateboard.
Jackass. This one seems pretty easy for you. Would you rather be dropped in the middle of the desert or dropped in the middle of the ocean?
I'll go ocean.
No one's picked ocean. It's the first
Really?
one. I think that might be the first one. Everyone said it's the thought of just the deep blue underneath and what's under there frightens them. Does it frighten you?
Yeah, it does a bit. It does a little bit. But I think in terms of survival, I'm much better odds in the ocean. I'd run out of energy in the desert pretty quickly, I reckon. You get to a point with swimming, because you've done so many kilometres over the years, that people say, how far could you swim? And you just go, well, how long's a piece of string? Like, how far could you walk? Because it feels the same to me as walking. So if if you said to me, how far could you swim? I'd say, how long you got?
Yeah, right. Get up, tread water for a little while.
Yeah, just keep...
I can do that, mate. As an old, as a person who represented country New South Wales in water polo from the Cessnock Seals, got your missile.
It's not even water in Cessnock.
I did a swim clinic.
Chlorine, mate.
I did a swim clinic at Cessnock recently, and they said to me, we've heard you on SEN. I said, oh, thank you. They said, we actually inducted Matthew and Andrew into the Cessnock Sporting Hall of Fame or something. If you see Matt, can you ask him to come up and collect the award?
I didn't even know I got the award.
I said, did either of them turn up? They said, no, they didn't turn up.
I didn't even know I got it.
That was the local mayor told me that.
He'd be able to fill up his trophy cabinet.
Big shout out to Mayor McCheese.
All right, two more. Who's the loosest Olympian you've ever come across?
Oh, wow.
Why is it Skippy Hugel?
I'll go Ryan Lochte.
Oh, yeah, right.
What did he
Good,
compete
huh?
in?
He was a medley swimmer, same sort of era as Phelps. He had a TV show in America on MTV called What Would Ryan Do? He used to wear a gold grill out to the blocks to race. He had dreadlocks at one point. He was a bit of a dude and could party.
Wow.
Yeah.
Party hardy.
Just thinking about when David Beckham had his dreadlocks. That was so bad.
Yeah.
Anyway, just Google it, kids.
Now it'd be called cultural appropriation, right? It's racist for a white guy to have dreadlocks at times.
That's right. Actually,
Yeah.
Jack just reminded me. Beckham didn't have dreadlocks. It was cornrows.
Yeah.
That's what I'm thinking of as well. I'm thinking of cornrows.
Sorry.
you're
That's what I meant. Yeah, cornrows. The split.
Yeah. Where they tie him up real.
That's
yeah,
what
yeah.
Lochte had.
Okay.
The
I was going to
cornrows.
say,
Nah,
David
dreadlocks,
Beckham
dreadlocks.
having
Because I
dreadlocks.
went to Bali and tried to get my hair braided, and there just wasn't enough of it.
Cat's hair. Okay, last one. Missile. Human missile. The human missile has, he's turned into the nuclear missile after juicing up to his gills and he's passed away.
Cholesterol levels.
Yeah. And me and Dad are walking you down the aisle. Not walking you, you're in a coffin and we're pallbearers. What's the song you want played at your funeral?
Oh, wow. This is a look into the future, isn't it?
Not too far.
Let's go a classic, Baha Men, Who Let the Dogs Out.
Well, I tell you what, Missile, I'm not going to give you the option, Julian or Gabrielle. Gabrielle is good luck. Give him a pat on the head, mate.
There
we go. Good luck.
World record.
Yeah,
Thanks, Missile.
Thanks, boys.
Gabrielle loves testosterone. There you go.
And what about that, man? Very impressive talker, the Missile. And what an athlete.
Great athlete, big guy, Missile. He, from believe he was a very good back rower. I think he might have played juniors at the Bulldogs.
I think he did.
Yeah, he played juniors at the Bulldogs. But, and he's done a really good, mate, at the media. He's done a very good job. He's a very straight shooter. He doesn't really, everyone cares to a certain degree what people think. But he'll just say it. And, the best example of the lot is how honest he's been about the enhanced games.
Mm. And a great sense of humour, good talker. And I'm very excited to see what he does with the enhanced games. Because I think you look at him, how he talks, how he is, you can tell he's got an addictive personality. And if he wants to go for something, you can tell he's going to go 100 miles an hour at it.
Coops, regardless of what you think, excuse me, I wasn't getting emotional, I just burped. it will create enormous interest. Enormous interest. What happens with these games? As I said before during the interview, this has been spoken about a lot. It's been a big discussion point for a lot of times with the Olympics, almost since '88 Solwood, when Ben Johnson got done when he did 9.77, I think he did. People going, why don't they just open it up? And there's all the health issues and all the rest of it. But it's going to be very, very interesting in this enhanced games, whether you like it or whether you don't, right? And I would say most people wouldn't. But if everyone starts breaking records and doing these phenomenal times, what does that do to the Olympics?
I think it's definitely going to... and
it'll impact it.
Yeah, but you talk about people not getting paid to break a world record or to win big medals at Olympic Games. Like, it's with an incentive like $1 million US, it's just going to slowly... like, you've watched the NFL and big sports take really good athletes away from the Olympics. I'd imagine if this gets big enough, the enhanced games will do the same.
Well, Missile compared it to live golf. We're trying to force a change. I'd probably liken it to college football a little bit, right? To a degree, okay, because college football is in America every bit as big as the NFL. It's massive. In fact, some of the highest paid athletes, well, they're not athletes, but people involved in sport in the world are college football coaches, and traditionally, college players can't be paid. Like, talking about the University of Alabama, well, our good friend Sean Carney, Brian's brother, he run a hotel there. When players would stay in those hotels, they had to clear the minibar and everything. You know, it'd be like rugby league as far as the third party. They had to be absolutely amateur. Well, that's changed. I don't know the nuances of what happened, but it forced their hands.
Yeah.
So,
great podcast, though, nonetheless. You did a great job.
Oh, no, mate. Honestly, Tinkerbell's judging Peter Pan. See you, mate.
See ya.